Okay. ¿Qué pasa con la mí? Left.
He has to show himself.
Okay. Now he muted us.
It's gonna be 4.
4 employees?
Yes, ma'am. And 2 of those positions are open right now. That we don't have an accountant right now, and we don't have a finance clerk.
Okay, so we have 4 positions
Uh-huh.
under the $250,000.
Mhm.
The 2 employees that we have now,
Yes, ma'am.
where are we at year to date with salary?
I would have to run a report and,
Well, look at last year's budget. You have last year's budget, what we had a budget for those 2 positions?
We can get that for you, Councilman.
I can get it for you.
Actually, it's in the proposed budget package, but we need to see that.
Yeah, but for the previous year, so we're not amending anything for this one?
I don't think there's, to my knowledge, there's anything to it.
Or like, are we not amending, I'm sorry, are we going
To keep those 2
higher
positions.
or we're staying the same that was already proposed
We're
this
just
year?
staying the same, yes, ma'am.
So we have 4 employees that equal over $250,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me make sure I understand on what you do.
On the personnel under the finance department, sir.
So you have a finance director and what else?
I have a finance director, an accountant, and 2 finance clerks.
We can come back to this, Kathy, go ahead,
Oh.
proceed on some other stuff, we'll come
Okay.
back to this item.
Okay. Next one is city pool expenditures. City pool service center, this is personnel 168 and operating 161, no capital outlay. And the next slide is library expenditures, personnel, 152, operating is 72,000, and the capital outlay is 3,500 for the library. Next slide is
At the
municipal.
library, I'm sorry, I got a question there.
Yes, ma'am?
We have budget $152,000 for salaries for the library. How many employees do we have there?
I believe it is 3.
Oh.
3. Yes, ma'am.
Wow. Wow, I need to know numbers on that too, please.
Okay, so
So you said how many employees we have at the library?
3.
3. Remember, we're still in a pandemic. We're not out of the pandemic. How many people there are certified librarian?
Are they certified, Jen?
Certified librarian.
What degree,
Everybody there has a bachelor's degree.
in library?
Nobody has a library science degree. That requires a master's.
Anybody have a master's there?
Nobody has a master's.
And the city pool, Crystal, how many employees are there for the purpose
The city pool,
That's gonna be, I think a portion gets pulled out of that.
I just.
Mechanic.
Mechanic, there you go, that's right.
City pool.
Yomi, mechanic, Roger, Gigi.
The chart was for the last meeting, right? It was in the last packet?
Correct, yes, it is.
If I can just see, yeah, if I could just see that chart, off of that packet, it'll have it in there.
Mr. Rayland.
Oh, he's got it.
Mr. Reed, we're talking about the we were, asking her the question on, the library, income. She says there's 3 employees, and we're budgeted at 152,000.
That's right. What I think, let me go back a couple of things just to make sure, because I wanna make sure these numbers are right.
Okay,
On the finance side, we have 3 staff aside from finance director. They're budgeted at 134,000 total for, so if you divide that by 3, I'm just trying to give you an estimate here. 134,000.
so we don't have 2 employees employed like she said.
Let me just finish it. The average salary for those 2 other 3 employees is about $45,000. So, just salary, okay? So, with that, so you have the clerk, the accountant position is currently vacant,
Okay?
the accountant position is currently vacant, and you have a clerk position is currently vacant. So, yeah,
Okay, so we have, it's 4 employees.
including you, is that right?
Yes. So including you is 4.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, well, we were told there was only 2 employees working there. You're saying there's 3.
It's in the org chart, it's right here. It's in, on page, let me go back to this. On the org chart for the proposed budget.
That's in last meeting's packet, right? Okay.
I want to make sure that, maybe we can look back at it.
And remember, Councilwoman, because that's what we budgeted, that's not what we're spending. Obviously, there's still room in there to spend for more hires, but because that's what that figure is, that obviously we're spending way less than that, which is 2 employees at this time.
Yeah, I understand that, Mayor. Thank you. I just see that we're adding more positions when we've never had that many.
No, actually, since I've been here, council, quite frankly, there's been, particularly during the pandemic, we were down to around 60-something. At one time, the city was over 80 employees,
Yeah.
80-something, and right now.
But
we're
I think
sitting around-
everybody's short with employees at this
But
time.
right now, we're sitting at budgeted, and keep, you're right, at budgeted right now, we're budgeted at 75. Doesn't mean we're gonna hire those positions like we've had, this year. I think right now, we're still sitting at filling, I don't remember how many, HR's not here, but we haven't filled all the positions, and so what we did with the budget is we eliminated some of those positions to attrition. So basically, we're just not hiring for positions that we left vacant for a few months. And so right now, we actually, I think last year we budgeted 81 positions. This year, I think we took 6, is that right, Jackie?
Yes.
6, we eliminated 6 for positions, budgeted positions from last year, which is how we came to the balanced budget.
Are we looking at these positions, Mr. Reyes, as we look, like police department, are we looking into the average pay within the state, within degrees and all?
We did that again as part of the study, that all was part of the study, and, so yeah, that was all discussed, and so every one of the criteria from experience to education carried the weight, and so based on that, what we were finding, and I don't wanna, cause you hear it from, we need people, but a lot of stuff we were hearing from was the police department, we weren't competitive. And so what this has allowed us to do, at least from what I gather, what I understand, is it allows us to be more competitive, because we have some folks that come in with some experience, and we're able to pay them more. Whereas before, people would come in, and even if they had experience at another community or another entity, we were still starting them out at the base salary, which is, I think, is $44,000. But we've been lucky. I say lucky. We've been fortunate to get some people with some experience, and we've been able to keep them. I don't know how you're, as far as we've had the least amount of time, but we do continue to see. Quite frankly, we continue to see turnover. Public Works is turnover. I mean, we have turnover there almost feels like daily.
Mr. Reyes, with all due respect, I'm not talking about the police department. I was one of the council members that initiated to give one of the largest salaries increase to our police department. We have police officers on food stamps, okay? We have police officers making $30,000.
Not here. No.
Okay, at one time we did, there were 32,000, okay? That's why we pushed for that,
Right.
okay? But I'm not talking about the police department,
Okay.
and I'm not talking about one individual department,
I agree.
okay? I believe everybody should be paid what they're worth. I believe we have to give services to our community, because that's what we're here for. The city of Pearsall is to give a service.
Yep.
And the way you're gonna give good service is with qualified individuals.
Yep.
Okay, I do understand. I'm a business owner myself. The last 2 years, you can't find help. Okay? You make do with what you got. Okay? But it's not what I'm saying. You know, I've always said here, we have, employees here 35 years and are still sitting at the same dollar that somebody walks through the door with no experience, but a degree. Okay, we have to outweigh that too. Degrees are good. But I don't wanna hire somebody with a science degree to do, finance.
I agree.
I don't wanna hire somebody with, language arts to do HR. Okay? So my thing is here is, of course, we gotta get paid. I'm an employee myself. We're living this pandemic together as a community. In the country, we're living it, we're facing it together. People need money. But we also have to look, and we have to give service to our community. We have to give them knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, you can hire bodies, but that's not gonna get us nowhere. And my concern is, I see $250,000, 200,000, 280,000, I'm serving departments. And I'm not saying that nobody's capable of doing that job. But right now, our budget's tight, because we gotta take care of our community as well. So that's all I'm saying. I wasn't talking about the police department, I'm not talking about one individual department. I'm talking about it as a whole.
Yes, ma'am.
And we gotta take care of our employees that are here now.
Yes.
I'm all for that. They're here, they're working for us, we take care of them. But not, one person's not better than the other. I don't want somebody that's walked in the door and not mind our 30-year-old man that has been here and that knows every street in town. Just because he ain't got a degree, we're gonna look the other way.
Yeah.
He has his knowledge. This person comes in with their knowledge. Let's put it together. All I'm trying to do is get these numbers right. We're trying to make this budget work, and if you're saying we're budgeted for this, but we're not employed with this, but we're cutting positions, then let's put it in the budget. And let's look at that budget.
Right. Historically, and I'll share this with you, when I say we're budgeting conservatively, meaning I'm gonna ask you for all I believe we need. Does it mean that I'm gonna fill the position tomorrow? No. There's times, there's staff that sometimes, they're hard to find positions for. I wish I could tell you that I had the most qualified person for this X position, whatever.
Of
that
course.
is. But sometimes it may take months, if not, whatever. And so that's what we're stuck with right now, that sometimes I can't find folks in my team that are qualified or have all the qualifications. And I agree with you, there's times where I have to choose an employee that may not have all the qualifications that we're looking for. But I believe that what we've given you is a conservative budget, and what we really need, not what, I want a whole bunch of stuff, but what we really need, I feel like we're giving you that budget.
And I want to add, Council, to that, I know we worked a lot on these salaries and on these positions with what we've got, and two, with what we did last year to make sure that all these employees were at a comparable level. That's critical, because we all know how fluid employment is. So I commend Fred on this. I know we spent a lot of time on getting it right for those particular reasons, and I trust that management and department heads know how to value somebody when they come in and know how to start them at the right price, because of course, the right salary, it's terrible for morale if someone comes in that's underqualified and gets overpaid, even though people aren't supposed to know their salaries, things like that get around. So I commend them. I know we have a difficult situation, and I appreciate the councilwoman's position, because we are in a tight budget situation, but they have done everything that they can do to get us to where we are and still operating. I mean, we start to go much lower, Hector, correct me if I'm wrong, with personnel. The service that we want to give is going to be very difficult to give, because we don't have the manpower to do that. So we worked hard to get to this point. Too, I would say this is informational, we're not taking any action. So if you have further questions, I'm available, Fred's available, Jack is available. Come in and let's talk about it, let's discuss. We'll go down and break down the numbers, boil them down. But at this particular point, I can attest, because I've spent many hours with them as well. They've worked hard to get to this point to where it balances, and there's no fluff. We don't have any room for any real major catastrophes, which is my big concern, but it is what it is. And so, the other thing too, I want to comment, this is a good time, is council, we're going to have to borrow money. We're going to have to borrow money, most likely not this year, but next year, we're going to have to go out for that. We're going to have to pay for that. We've got to put in water lines. There's other capital expenses that we've got to do. We don't have the figure on that, but we can't not be prepared for that it's coming. At least one, maybe two large bonds in the next 5 or 6 years in order to do these things. So we need to keep that in mind of how we're going to pay for that when it comes up, because this is critical to provide service in the future. Everything we have has a life expectancy, and a lot of these things are at the end of those life expectancies. Wastewater plant, water production plants, we've got one well down right now. Thank the good Lord we've been able to keep up with demand, and we've got some rain and it's cooled down a little bit, but it has been nothing short of a miracle for this water department staff to keep the city in needs, and that we haven't had to drop these wells is a major thing. So anyway, keep that in mind. I don't want to slow down the process, but that is coming. We're going to have to be doing that, and that money's going to have to come from somewhere, so we need to think about that and move forward. Jackie?
Mr. Reeves, Councilwoman Garza, I wanted to know how many were in the city pool off of the chart, city pool services, how many fell under that department?
Also, Mayor, for the record, just wanna say, 633 James's, audio and visual is up.
Get cut.
It's on,
It's on.
as of 6:33 yesterday.
Mayor,
Yes, Councilman Leal.
once the finance director gets done talking, I got a comment if I can.
Yeah, we'll give you the floor.
I appreciate it.
Councilwoman Garza, on, the utility, can you go to the pool services? That's gonna be 2.5 positions. The reason it's 2.5 is, the mechanic is split between general fund and utility fund.
And then there's the other two, which are,
The other two are fully funded from general fund,
Which is a custodian
which is a custodian.
and the two custodians. We have Roger, the two custodians.
Two custodians and then the mechanic.
so it's 2 custodians and a mechanic at 168,000 and 170,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
Okay, I'm done, and,
All right, Councilman Leal, did you have some questions? Councilman Leal?
You're muted, James.
James?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you've got the floor.
yes.
Okay. I just want to kind of piggyback off of some of the comments that were made. I couldn't agree more with, council members saying, value our employees, make sure they're getting paid right. But we also got to take consideration that when we value people, we pay them more money and we spend more money and we got to increase our tax base, or we got to increase our revenue as a city. So we can't just do one thing and expect to leave the taxes at one set price. There's a balance, so we got to balance it. Yeah, I don't want to let go of people and I don't want to cut positions, but at the same token, there's a lot of people that don't want to raise taxes. So what are we going to do? Are we going to, eliminate positions? Are we going to find some way to generate more revenue? This is all things that we got to consider as we're going through this budget, and as we're doing other things as well, especially when things get brought up to the council on additional funds for different things. And that's just what I had to say, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Councilman Leal.
I did forget one person, that was my
What?
fault, it's 3.5.
It's 3.5. The office, manager
Yeah.
from that side is being budgeted, for city school services.
Thank you.
Okay, council, anybody else have a question? for
I just have one more
Administrator?
comment.
Okay, just a second, Councilwoman. Anybody else with a question? Councilwoman Rodriguez, go ahead.
So my comment with this, with the whole budget, we've been in a pandemic going on 3 years. 2 years we got ARP funds. Those ARP funds are to, help the city keep afloat and also help the